What is going on, everyone? Welcome back. Welcome back to 2 Minute Warning. It has been a while. I think our last episode was before the Super Bowl, actually.
Yeah.
And it's April, so it's been a while. So welcome back. Big show today. We got a big show for you guys today.
A lot of stuff to talk about.
A lot to discuss. But first off, we got to start off the podcast with some big news. Not relating to any, sports related things or anything like that. But, Tommy, I'll let you take it away with this one.
Oh, okay. Well, in the fall.
In this fall,
in this fall, I will be taking my talents to Long Beach. I will be transferring to Long Beach State University to pair myself up with Theo.
Go Beach. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So you know what that means, guys. More 2-minute warning.
More episodes.
More 2-minute warning content next year. So big things are coming for us for the podcast, but again, congratulations to Tommy for picking the right school, first of all. Second, officially becoming a Long Beach dirtbag.
Right.
So that is our baseball team. So go Dirtbags.
Now a dirtbag.
Now a dirtbag. Forever. Day. All right. So yeah, let's kick it off. I mean, like I said, we got some big things to talk about today. First of all, the NBA playoffs. The field is set. I think this might, I don't know, this is just me, but this might be one of the most exciting playoffs. Just like, bracket wise.
You want why, Theo?
Why? Why is that?
LeBron's not there.
There we go. So, and we'll even get to that later. Like, whoa, I mean, Tommy let's just give Tommy his flowers.
That's right. I did predict the Lakers.
The Lakers are not going to be the playoff. And he was right. Shame on me for having just a little bit of faith in the Los Angeles Lakers. But, a lot of things went wrong in their season.
Yeah, it was.
But, yeah, I mean, we can talk about that later. But,
yeah.
So, for now, we're going to start off talking about the NBA. Okay. So, the play-in field is set. So we have the number 7 Timberwolves versus the number 8 Clippers in the West, and then the number 9 Pelicans versus the number 10 Spurs. Okay. In the East, we have the Nets, number 7, against number 8 Cavs, and the number 9 Hawks versus the number 10 Hornets. Last year's play-in was already pretty exciting. And this is even coming from a Warriors fan where I'm like, the Warriors didn't even make the playoffs from that play-in. Yeah. And this is looking to be a very, very exciting play-in tournament, which starts tomorrow, actually. So
yeah, because I think there's a lot of close teams. Because I even think the Pelicans have been, as a 9, they've been pretty hot as of recently. And even the Spurs, you can't count out Greg Popovich. And then the Hawks and Hornets are still very good teams. Hawks were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I mean, so there's a lot of not much surprise teams, but a lot of teams that we've seen before. And of course, with Brooklyn being in the play-in is also going to be interesting to see.
I agree. So with that being said, we're going to do 2 minutes, each of us. We're going to do 2 minutes for the West and then 2 minutes for the East. Okay, so we're going to do 2 minutes. Go ahead, or I'll give you the first 2 minutes. Just give me your West picks. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, and go ahead.
All right, so starting with the first game in the West, which would be the 7-8 matchup, Timberwolves versus the Clippers. I think the Timberwolves are the better team overall. I think Cat has been playing incredible this year. D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards form a pretty solid big 3 compared to the Clippers, who really their only star is Paul George. But they do have a lot of role players, so it's hard for me to, kind of count out the Clippers here. But I still feel like the Timberwolves haven't been in the playoffs in forever. They're going to get a home play-in game where it's a win and you're in the playoffs. I just can't go against the Timberwolves in that game. And I think I like the Timberwolves and I like the energy that they play with. And I think the fan base will be loud and it'll be a crazy atmosphere to see them play there. So I think the Wolves will win that one. But I do feel like regardless of who wins that 9-10 matchup, I think the Clippers still find a way to make the playoffs as an 8 seed. I like the Pelicans to beat the Spurs at home, but the Clippers as an 8 seed, they got to win 1 out of 2 games. I just don't see that team losing 2 straight games, knowing that they're a win and in the playoffs. So I would probably keep the Western Conference for the actual 7 and 8 seeds at Timberwolves at 7 and Clippers at 8. I think the Pelicans, for sure, I wouldn't count them out as to they can play a really tough game against the Clippers, but I just feel like the Clippers have the experience needed to win one of those 2 games that they need to make the playoffs. That's just where I'm going with in the West.
All right. And that's the 2 minutes right there. So good job. All right. So now I'll give myself 2 minutes starting now. So I completely agree with everything that you said. I think that the Wolves and the Clippers is definitely a matchup. That's definitely like a really good matchup. But I think the fact that the T-Wolves have just had I don't even think they deserve to be a play-in team. I think they played better this season. I think they just had a rough start to their season and they found their way after the All-Star break. But I mean, yeah, I think the T-Wolves are going to win that matchup simply because of the fact that it is at home and it is going to be a playoff atmosphere. And, like, I think Cat's hungry. I mean, Ant's probably really hungry too. I mean, that is a team full of hungry people right there. I mean, D'Lo, right? Like, there's like just a lot of people who on that team who really want to win. I mean, they're probably not going to make it as far in the playoffs as their fans would think, but I think just winning that play-in game will like mean a lot to a lot of them. So Wolves for that one, and then I do have the Pelicans just inching out the Spurs, but I think that would be a good 9-10 game too. Like, I don't think anyone expects any of these 9-10 games to be good, but this year, both 9-10 games actually like have a lot of potential. Like the Spurs, if the Spurs win, I wouldn't be surprised, right? But I would pick the Pelicans in that matchup. So it would be the Clippers and the Pelicans. And like you said, I just think that the Clippers have more experience. I think that Paul George, like, I think the whole playoff P meme has like disappeared, and I think that Paul George has been playing like great. And if he's healthy, and he's gonna play great. And who knows what happens after the Clippers win that one? Will Kawhi come back? I mean, right? So
yeah,
there's a lot in line for this Clipper team. So I think that I agree with you. I think we keep the 7 and 8, but I wouldn't be surprised if either 9 or 10 make a run for it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, give props to the Pelicans for starting the year 1-12, and then they're now in the play-in.
Oh yeah, and same thing with the Spurs. Like when they needed to win, they won, right? Yeah. Like if you're in contention with the Lakers, like a big name team like the Lakers, they've had all these questions and all that. If you're the Spurs, you're just focusing on winning games, and that's exactly what they did, right? Like I know it's a team full of young guys, but under Pop, they just knew that they had to win these games, not worry about the Lakers, because the Lakers would like they would eliminate themselves. It wouldn't be the Spurs that eliminates them. So like I think the Spurs did the right thing near the end of the season, clinching that 10 spot, and they could make some noise in this play. I wouldn't be surprised.
Who knows?
All right, so now we're gonna do 2 minutes each for the East, which I think is harder to pick. So I'll let you start with that. Yeah. Go ahead, 2 minutes.
I'm gonna make this one easy. I look at the Nets Cavs series and I say, okay, in a 1-game scenario, who would I rather have on my which player would I bet on to win that game? Kevin Durant and Kyrie are the first two guys I would name before anyone on Cleveland. And I could potentially name some other Brooklyn Nets, but I probably wouldn't because I do think Garland, Jared Allen, and Mobley are really impressive big three in Cleveland. And they got a good team, but I just think the way they've been trending as of late in the season has just not been good enough, I think, to beat a team like the Nets, especially a team that, I mean, the Nets 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, they were the 10 seed. And people were talking about, oh, what if, are they even going to make the playoffs? And now they're sitting at the 7 seed, needing to win one of two potential home games to make the playoffs. So they're in a great spot. I like the Nets to win at home. I think it could still be a close game, but I mean, KD and Kyrie, they'll figure out a way to win that one. Hawks, Hornets. I'm going to go with the Hawks here. I know even though like the Hornets, they've been playing great, but I do think in Atlanta, a team that was in the conference finals last year, it's another scenario where it's like, who would you rather have on your team? Trae Young, who's been there before in the playoffs and has performed well, or LaMelo Ball and this young Hornet squad that really haven't had much play, like big game situations to play for. So I like the Hawks to win at home. And then Cavs, Hawks, I'm going to go with the Hawks in that 8-9 matchup. I just think that the Hawks are, again, they've been on the right track as of late. They were a team that didn't start the year off well, kind of like last year. They get hot at the right time and they make the playoffs and they can make some noise. And I think they'll get in as that 8 seed.
All right. Perfect. All right. My 2 minutes will start now. So here's my thing. With that Nets Cavs matchup, I think it's like too easy to pick the Nets, even though I am picking the Nets. I think that's still a great game. I think people just see the Nets and just think, wow, the Nets shouldn't even be a playing team. Wow, but the East is good this year.
Yeah.
I feel like people are forgetting that fact that the East is really good this year. And the fact that the Nets are a playing team says a lot about how good the East is, right? But the fact that people are forgetting that the Cavs also have a bunch of young guys who are hungry and they have players that know how to play together, right?
Yeah.
And I think I'm not saying that the Nets don't. KD and Kyrie, I mean, that chemistry is off the charts. But like you said earlier, besides those two, who else can you name, right? Like Steph Curry, right?
Love Steph Curry, though. He's a baller.
I am going to pick the Nets in that matchup, but like I said earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if the Cavs just like feeling more like a complete team come out of that game. But I will pick the Nets. And then the next game, the Hawks and the Hornets. My pick is the Hornets, but I do think that the Hawks would win. The reason why I want the Hornets to win is because who doesn't want to see LaMelo Ball in the playoffs? Who doesn't want to see, Miles Bridges in the playoffs? I personally don't want to see Trae Young in the playoffs, but that's just me. That's just like a personal bias. But if the Hawks do make it, I think the Cavs would beat the Hawks, and I also think the Cavs would beat the Hornets. So I think that the 7-8 remains the same for me there, but I think that if I'm picking the Hornets, and if the Hornets do win this, if they win the first game against the Hawks, I definitely think they can take that momentum and that Cavs loss to they actually might make the playoffs. So that's just like my dark horse pick, kind of, the Hornets coming out of that play-in tournament. But, it could just end up being 7-8. It could end up being Nets and Hawks. Anything could happen in that East play-in bracket. I think that the Nets aren't even surefire. Like, they're not going to get eliminated. They're not going to lose 2 in a row, but they could lose the first one, right? So that play-in, that East play-in is something to watch. I definitely think so.
I mean, that's just why the play-in tournament is put into place, because you have 4 teams that are very similar in records. And if we were at the regular format, it would just be Brooklyn and Cleveland, and then the Hawks and Hornets would have no potential shot to make the playoffs. So it gives us a couple or 3 more exciting games to see, like, when it matters the most, we get 3 game sevens. Your back's against the wall. You need to win to continue your season, which I mean, it's incredible.
And I think in terms of the play-in, like a lot of people don't like the play-in still, but I think that it's only been a year, right? And I think after this year, a lot of those people would be turned to liking the play-in just because of the fact that hungry teams like the Pelicans and the Spurs and the Hawks and the Hornets will give us a game.
Yeah.
And I hope they do. And I definitely think they will. And that's good for basketball, right? Like that's exactly why this play-in tournament was put into place, so that to prevent tanking by these lower seeded teams and to give the fans a show, man. Like, so yeah.
It's just what you want. You want to see the best players playing in the playoffs, and the amount of talent in the play-in that we're about to see on Tuesday and Wednesday is just off the charts.
I'm excited. I'm definitely excited. So moving on, we're gonna talk about the first round. Okay. Talk about the first round just because we have matchups that are already set.
Yes.
So we're just gonna do 2 minutes each again.
All right.
And we're gonna do 2 minutes on each. We're gonna do 2 minutes on each conference. So just a quick little rundown. Okay.
Yep.
So based on our predictions, it would be Suns versus the Clippers.
Yep.
And then it would be the Grizzlies versus the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
Right. And then it would be the 2 matchups that are already set: the Warriors versus the Nuggets, and then the Mavs versus the Jazz.
All right.
Okay. So we're gonna do. Actually, do you want to do 2 minutes for both of us on each matchup, or do you want to do 2 minutes on each conference? What do you think?
Let's go 2 minutes on each conference, just because my plan is to give like kind of the lowdown of how I think the series will go, and then my prediction of how many games it will last. So
I'll give you 2 minutes to talk about the West real quick.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, starting with the Suns versus the Clippers. I think the Clippers are the team that the Suns don't want to face in the first round. Of all the teams, I think the Clippers, because they played them in the conference finals last year, even without Kawhi, and that series lasted 6 games. So I think this is a 5-6 game series in which I think the Clippers play competitively, but the Suns have control of the series. So I think, does that make sense? Like the Suns are going to they're going to win the series. It won't be, no one's going to think, oh, the Clippers might win this series, but it's going to be like a 5-6 game series. For the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves, this is a matchup that a lot of people are saying, oh, the Grizzlies, Timberwolves, they don't match up well. The Timberwolves, if they get hot, the Grizzlies might be a first round exit. I mean, they're just so loaded. I mean, their record without John Morant just shows how deep this roster actually is. I mean, you can't be 17-2 or whatever their record is without your best player and not win in the first round of the playoffs. Like, you just can't. So I do like the Grizzlies to win this series. I'm actually going to give them probably around 6 game series. It'll be pretty competitive in every game, but I mean, just the Grizzlies all around, they're a lot deeper than the Timberwolves. And I think that's what's going to play into their series victory. Going with the Warriors Nuggets 3-6 matchup. I mean, it depends on if Steph Curry's healthy for game 1. If Curry's healthy game 1, I think this could be an easier series win for the Warriors. But knowing that Curry's going to be coming back from an injury, and with the just the question marks on the Warriors in general, I think this series lasts 7 games, but I'm still going to take the Warriors. It's going to be a tough series for him. Jokic is an incredible talent, MVP candidate. So, and I think the MVP, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So I think that's probably the best series of this conference and this first round is Warriors Nuggets, just because I think both teams, like Jokic is a matchup nightmare for the Warriors, but I do think the Warriors have so much to offer with Poole, Curry, and Thompson shooting the ball from wherever. So I think that's the 7-game series, and that's probably the best matchup. I would say it's the best matchup of the first round, if I'm being honest. I think that's a really exciting matchup. And then finally, Mavs Jazz. I think this is an easy Mavs victory. I'm going Mavs in a gentleman's sweep. In like that, like they're just gonna handle business. The Jazz have really not impressed me at all this year. They were a 1 seed last year, but I mean, even with Dallas, they don't have many guys, but Luka is just, he finds a way to win. And I think he, after losing in the first round the last 2 seasons, I think he wants to get this first series win over with, and he's going to like easily take care of the Jazz in the first round. That's where I'm going with.
All right. Good calls. Good calls. All right. I'll do my 2 minutes right now. So starting with the Suns and the Clippers, I fully agree with what you said, saying that the Clippers are the Suns' worst nightmare in the first round. I'll talk about a dream scenario after I talk about the whole West playoffs, but like you said, I think that the Suns will definitely control that series, but I do see it going 6, maybe 7, maybe even 7 games, right?
Okay.
I think that near the end of the season, we saw the Suns a little bit more laid back, and like they had the right to be laid back. They won what
64 games.
4 games this season. You have every right to be laid back, but going into the playoffs against a team that just came out of the play-in, that's kind of scary. So I know the Suns winning that, but like I said, it might reach a game 7. So I'll say a Suns in 6 in that one.
Okay.
Grizzlies versus Timberwolves. I think that the Timberwolves tend to not perform well in the playoffs. We were talking about them in the play-in.
That's a good point.
Right? We're talking about them in the play-in, but that's different, right? You can be hungry in the play-in because you want to make the playoffs. But once you're in the playoffs, right, you have this 7-game set, and you're just like, okay, so this is what we do game 1. This is what we do game 2. And I think that the Timberwolves have a tendency to like, just like fall apart once that whole thing comes together. And so I'm not going to say that they're going to completely fall apart, which, it would still be a good series. There's a lot of young guys in that series, and it would definitely be a series to watch, but I do have the Grizzlies in 5. Warriors and Nuggets. Number one thing we have to remember is that the Warriors lost that season series 1-3, right? And each one of those games I remember watching, and I'm just like, wow, we can't stop Jokic, right? And during these last couple of weeks of the regular season, all I was thinking was, oh God, please let Utah be the 6, right? Please, like,
that was the dream, wasn't it?
And to the last day, there was a chance that the Warriors would match up with the Jazz, but it just did not happen. So this was the worst case scenario for Warriors. I think that it would definitely be a hard series. I definitely think it would reach a game 7, but I do have the Warriors pulling out of that one, just with a little bias, and with the bias thinking that Steph Curry will be back and healthy for the series.
Yeah.
And there's also the delusional fan in me that thinks, hey, if you're 1-3 in the regular season, you know what that means, right? That means you figured it all out come playoff time, and you know exactly what to do to stop that man from just shooting anywhere on the court and making it. So I think that would definitely be, if the Warriors were to make a deep playoff run and they were to come out of the series, this would be their hardest series.
Oh.
And then finally, number 4, Mavs Jazz. I don't want to say gentleman's sweep, even though I really want to. I think the Jazz get 1 game. I'll give the Jazz a game.
That is a gentleman's sweep. Gentleman's sweep is 5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
Yeah, so that's
5. I think that this is Donovan Mitchell's last season in Utah.
Oh.
And I think that however they exit the playoffs this year is just that's the reason why. That's the reason why Donovan Mitchell requests a trade out of Utah, and everything falls apart there. But yeah, it's not even about the Mavs being good. I think this is more about the Jazz just not, And like 2-3 years ago, this was the Clippers. This was us talking about the Clippers. But
Yeah.
last year, the Clippers proved this wrong, right? Like last year, they reached the conference finals, and everyone was like, okay, the Clippers might actually pull this off. And this year, that's going to be the Jazz, and people are going to be let down. So,
well, I mean, the difference is the Clippers had Kawhi and Paul George, two generational talents, and the Jazz have Rudy Gobert.
So you want to talk about? Do you want to hear about my dream scenario?
Yeah, what's it?
My dream scenario. Okay. So my dream scenario is that the Clippers beat the Wolves in the play-in. Right?
Okay.
And then either the Pelicans or the Spurs beat the Wolves in the play-in.
All right. So the Wolves are eliminated. That's your dream.
The Wolves would be eliminated, which means that it would be the Suns versus either the Pelicans or the Spurs, which would be a good series. But that's, I think the Suns are going to win whatever first round matchup they get.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that is that the Grizzlies play the Clippers. And I think the Clippers can win that series. And I think the one team that could knock out the Grizzlies in the first round would be the Clippers. And as much as I love John Morant, I do not like the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
Especially lately with I hate the Suns more. Let's just get that out of the way. But it's the Suns are too talented of a team for me to like be a solid hater and be like, they're not going to get anywhere because I don't like them. The Suns are a good team. The Grizzlies have proven that they're a good team in the regular season. They haven't proven that in the playoffs yet. And I think that the Clippers could possibly beat the Grizzlies in that series if that was like the dream scenario. So
I mean, that'd be awesome because the Warriors own the Clippers in the playoffs.
Exactly. So that's it for you. So
the dream scenario right there.
All right, now we're gonna do 2 minutes for the East. Go ahead, Tommy.
All right, let's make this a quick one. Here we go. Heat versus who I got? The Hawks. This is going to be one of those series that I think the Hawks win a couple early games, and everyone's like, "Oh my goodness, we're going to see a 9 seed upset the number 1 seed," and then the Heat. Though I think it'll be a longer series than people actually think, but the Heat will win it, probably 6 or 7, I think. Because I mean, all around the Heat are a better team than the Hawks. I think Trae Young does have enough in him to have 2 or 3 great games to push that series along. Celtics versus the Nets. This is I'm gonna come back to this one because this one's too interesting to really think about right now. Bucks Bulls, gentleman's sweep. Milwaukee takes this one. The Bulls are not as good as their record says. And I think that's also because Lonzo's hurt. He's not playing. So, I mean, if he was there, I think my opinion would change on the Bulls. But I do think the Bucks, as reigning champs, have that series kind of in the bag. Sixers, Raptors. This is another tough one because, I mean, with Matisse Thybulle not being able to play any games in Toronto, it makes me think, well, Toronto might handle all those home games, but I'm going to say the Sixers in 7. This series will go 7. I'm going to still pick the Sixers because I think when in doubt, Embiid is still the best player on the court. And when you have the best player on the court in a game 7, you're liking your odds. So I think the Sixers can win that series in 7 just based on Joel Embiid having a great game 7 alone. And if James Harden plays the way we expect him to, or not expect him, but we think he should, then the Sixers shouldn't really have a problem winning that series. But if he struggles, then yeah, the Raptors could surprise some people. They're still a very good team. But Celtics, Nets, I'm gonna go with the Nets here. Even though the Celtics are a great team and defensively, they're the best defensive team in basketball going against a team that's really known for their offense. But I mean, who on defense is going to be able to stop Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving at the same time? Like, this just one of the most unstoppable duos you'll ever see. And KD's one of the most unstoppable offensive players of all time. So because of that, I'll go Nets. And I'm going to go a 6-game series. I think the Nets will win on their home turf. It won't go 7.
All right. I'll go 2 minutes. Okay, first of all, I think it's Heat Cavs for me. I think that the Heat the Heat are definitely not the best team in the East. Let's just go with that.
I
But
agree.
the Cavs are also not the best 8 seed that you could get.
Yeah.
So I think that that's an easy Heat series win in 5. I think the Cavs get one at home. But in my other scenario where the Hornets make it out of that, I think that it's still the Heat, but in 6. Okay. Celtics versus Nets. I think that I want to talk about this. The fact that it had to come down to the last week of the season to see who would be the 2, who would be the 3, who would be the 4. And I just kept saying, if you're the number 2 pick, if you're the number 2 seed, you want to lose.
Yeah.
And because you know exactly who you're playing in the first round. I don't care if it's TBD right now. You know exactly who you're playing in the first round, and that's the Nets. And that's the last team you want to play. While the Nets may be a 7 seed, you do not want to see playoff KD. You do not want to see playoff Kyrie. So I do have the Nets winning that one in 7 games because I think that that's the best series in the first round for the East. I think that a 2 versus 7 is the last series where you're like, okay, you know what, we're gonna watch this 2-7. But that's definitely a series to watch right there. If the Celtics can pull it off and upset the Nets there, I think they can go for a deep playoff run. But I will have the Nets winning that one. Bucks versus Bulls. I'm sorry, but as much as I like the Bulls, I think I said this in the beginning of the season, I think the Bulls needed another year. And we'll have the same conversation next year talking about the Bulls in the playoffs. But right now it's not their year. Plus Lonzo got injured. It's not even because Lonzo got injured that it's not their year. I think they needed another year to develop that chemistry, even though they already showed that they have it. But I think the Bucks are just too good of a team. You know, defending champs. Bucks in 5. I think the Bulls can win a game there.
Yeah.
Then Sixers versus Raptors. Here's where I disagree with you.
Okay.
I don't think Matisse Thybulle missing any games is even that big of a difference. While he may be like a really good defensive player, a good part of the team, I don't think the Raptors have anyone to even be like, okay, well, we have Fred VanVleet, we have Scotty Barnes, we have Pascal Siakam. I don't think that just like matches up with Joel Embiid, first of all. And I think that as much as I don't like James Harden, I think just playoff James Harden will come out again. I think that I don't think James Harden would be the biggest factor in the series. It's definitely going to be Joel Embiid. But if James Harden puts in his share, that's a 4-0 sweep right there for me.
Wow. So you're not high on the Raptors. Okay.
I'm not very high on the Raptors. This is me sleeping on the Raptors. If the Raptors somehow, if they win a game, good for them. But if they somehow win the series, I will never talk about basketball ever again because I was just wrong. And you can clip this. I have a lot writing on this series now, but
yeah, this is big.
I think the Sixers are definitely going to win the series. And I think it's just like my bold prediction that it's a sweep. I don't think it's a lot of people's prediction that it's a sweep, but 4-5, you're not going to be like, oh, it's a sweep. But I think that any of the 2, 3, 4 teams could have swept the Raptors.
Yeah.
So that's just my take on that.
I'll say this though about the Raptors and how they match up with the Sixers. They have a lot of lengthy defenders and like OG, Gary Trent, Scotty Barnes, Siakam, Fred VanVleet. Like it's a very loaded roster. The issue is they have no answer for Embiid inside. They're gonna foul him all day, which is Embiid's bread and butter, getting to the free throw line, getting his points there. So they're gonna have no answer to stop him. So if Harden even plays like average James Harden,
exactly, and that's my point.
Plays well, like I could see that.
Like he doesn't have to show out. He just has to play his part because he's not the main guy on that team.
That's right,
and he doesn't need to be. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, well, I'll definitely watch that series, but I don't know. I think the Sixers are just too good of a team.
If they're all on they should handle that series pretty easily. That's why I'm leaning towards like if Harden isn't playing the way he should be, I
Yeah.
can see that game series
Yeah.
going to 7.
All right, now we're gonna do the rest of our playoff bracket.
All right.
We're gonna get like going off of our first round winners. We're just gonna we'll give you a rough estimate of what the playoffs would look like in RV. So we're gonna have just the same thing as the NFL playoffs. We're gonna do a delusional bracket, and then we're gonna do our actual bracket. It doesn't even matter if both your brackets are the same. We're still gonna do a delusional and an actual. Okay, so Tommy, we're gonna do both of our delusionals first. So,
all right,
2 minutes on you starting now.
Okay, well, I got to start with the play-in too, because now I got to go with some of the matches I do like. The only thing that changes in the play-in is I think I would like the Pelicans to beat the Clippers, just to see the Pelicans in the playoffs, even without Zion. I think that would be the biggest like reminder to Zion, like, hey, you literally could not play this year, yet the Pelicans are still a very good team, and either they're gonna move on from him or they're gonna try to get him into the rotation next season. And either way, that's great for the NBA because we're going to see Zion play a lot more. But they won't beat the Suns. I still think Dallas is better than the Jazz. Obviously, I want the Warriors to beat Denver. Timberwolves, Memphis. I would, as a Warrior fan, I want to see Memphis in the playoffs because I want to beat them in the playoffs. So I would like to see Memphis go to the second rounds. Obviously, I'm going to take the Warriors over Memphis in that matchup just because Warriors are going all the way in this delusional bracket. Are you kidding me? Suns versus Dallas. No, I got to see the Suns too. For the Warriors, how awesome would it be to beat the MVP, go beat Memphis, and then go beat
Yeah.
That'd be such an awesome Western Conference run to the chip. And then in the East, I'll keep the same play-in teams. Heat will move on. Sixers will move on. Bucks will move on, obviously. And I got the Nets still moving on over the Celtics in my delusional bracket because I would want to beat Brooklyn in the finals. Katie going against the Warriors. That's like the biggest box office matchup the NBA has ever seen. Like, you got Nets, one of the most marketable teams, still looking for their first ever NBA championship. You got the Warriors, the dynastic Warriors, still with Steph, Clay, and Dre. Katie, who was a Warrior, going against the team. Kyrie, who's played the Warriors in the finals, 3 times in his career. Seth Curry versus Steph Curry. The storylines are there. Give me Warriors Nets in the finals. And that would be just awesome as a Warrior fan, with the Warriors taking it, obviously. There you go.
I'll do my delusional bracket. There's a lot I'm thinking about in terms of my actual bracket now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm like, hold up, like I need to like tone it down with the biases in my actual bracket. So we're gonna get it all out of the way in this delusional bracket.
That's right. That's why we
do a delusional bracket. All right, 2 minutes starting now. So yeah, I will pick. The thing is, I'll pick the Spurs. I'll pick the Spurs to beat the Pelicans play-in, and then I'll have the Spurs beating the Timberwolves in the second game of the play-in. So then that would mean that the Suns would play the Clippers. The Suns would play the Clippers.
No, Suns.
The Suns would play the Spurs. The Suns would play the Spurs.
You're right.
And the Grizzlies would play okay. So the Suns are gonna win that.
Okay.
Sweet. Jazz, Mavs, easy again. Warriors, Nuggets, again. Warriors.
The Dubs.
That's still gonna go to 7, even in my delusional bracket. And then Grizzlies, Clippers. I got the Clippers winning that one.
Delusional, man.
Just very delusional. And then And then we have the Suns and the Mavs. I have the Suns winning that one. And then we have the Warriors and the Clippers. I think that's a very easy matchup. Although, if that were to happen in real life, there's a possibility that Kawhi Leonard comes back for that series. And that's like a scary thought for me. So maybe we don't want that to happen, but we will take the Warriors Clippers. We'll take the Warriors over there. And then Warriors Suns in the Western Conference Finals. We'll take the Warriors, of course, with all the bias in the world.
All day.
All right. And then for the East play-in, we'll have the Hornets beating the Hawks, and then we'll have the Nets beating the Cavs, which means Cavs versus Hornets. And then I want the Hornets in the playoffs, so we'll pick the Hornets there, which means it would be Heat Hornets, which I'm taking the Heat in 6, because I think that if the Hornets get that far, they're putting up a fight. And then Sixers, Raptors, Sixers, Bulls, Bucks. I have the Bulls in that one. And then we have Celtics Nets. I really want the Celtics to win that one, but I will go with the Nets again. So we're going to have the Heat and the Sixers versus the Bucks and the Nets. So we're going to have the Heat. Wait, we're going to have the Sixers against the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals, which I think, I don't know. We'll get to the actual bracket later, but we'll have the Nets winning that one too. And I agree with you. I think Warriors Nets is the best delusional pick in the world. I would pay money to go to one of those games. We'll have the Warriors in 6 in that one. Actually, no.
Warriors on the home court.
Warriors in 7. Warriors in 7.
Right.
I think, yeah. I think that they each get a game on the road. Yeah. And then we'll get to 7.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
It's hard doing delusionals because then you're thinking about your actual bracket and you're like, how do I not mess this up? Okay.
I mean, you just pick with, this is me picking with my heart, you guys.
So now the actual bracket.
Now it's with my brain.
There has to be no biases. This is the rule. These are the rules for the actual bracket. No biases. Okay. This is based on our basketball knowledge and what amount of basketball we watch this season.
Yes.
This is why we do 2-minute warning for the people. Okay. So Tommy, we're gonna do 2 minutes for your actual bracket. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is pretty tough because I think of the maybe 100 NBA games I watched, 82 of them were all Warrior games. So, but so you already know my play-in matchups and first round kind of winners and losers. So let's go straight into the second rounds. Suns versus Dallas. Suns are going to take this series. I think they're going to take it in, I'm going to go, 5 or 6. Suns will, I mean, they're just a 64 win team. Like Dallas.
Suns, right? Suns.
Yeah.
Suns,
yeah. Suns are going to take that one. Warriors versus Memphis in the second round. I'm still going to go with the Warriors because if they get to the second round, which I think they will, that means that Curry, Clay, Poole, Draymond, all that, Wiggins, they're all going to be there. And I know Memphis is going to be there too, but I mean, we have only seen Steph, Clay, and Dre.
There's definitely the experience factor.
Yes, there's the experience, but also we haven't seen Steph, Clay, and Dre play at all this year together. They played 20 minutes, I think, in total. It might even be less. So seeing them back on the court together in the playoffs, in a series like they're going against Memphis, that everyone knows that's a big rivalry game series, I like the Warriors to pull that one out, probably in a 6 or 7. Tough series. But then the Warriors run for sure ends in Phoenix. Phoenix, they're going to go to the finals. I think it's going to be too tough for the Warriors to go against Denver, then Memphis, and then beat the Suns, knowing that the Suns go basically from Clippers and Dallas, 2 teams that really aren't equipped to beat the Suns.
Have an easy road, man.
They have an easier road, and it's gonna be a tougher matchup, especially if the Warriors play 2 straight series of 6 or 7 games. So the Suns are gonna go back to the finals, where they will, after I get through my East, Heat, Sixers. I'll go Heat. Heat are gonna get to the conference finals. Bucks versus Nets, rematch of last year's conference semis. But I still like the Bucks. I still like Giannis. Giannis is the best player out of everyone in that series, and he impacts both the offense and the defensive side of the ball. So give me the Bucks in that one, and give me the Bucks to again enact revenge on the Heat for knocking them out in the bubble, even though they kind of took care of that last year, but they're salty about that. And I think we're gonna get a finals rematch, Suns Bucks in the finals, and I'm gonna go with Phoenix to take the championship this year in, let's go 7. Let's go 7-game series. Great series. And we get a rematch. We get Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and DeAndre Ayton cementing themselves in NBA history. And the Suns get their first ever NBA championship. Theo, what do you think about that?
Here's what I think. Here's what I think.
Don't tell me you got the exact same matchup.
This isn't. I'm doing this with no bias at all. So, start 2 minutes right now. So we're gonna have the Suns and the Mavs in the second round, based on my predictions, and then we'll have the Warriors and the Grizzlies. So I will have the Suns being the Mavs there. I think that that's a series I will not be watching. I don't even care. I think the Suns win that in 5 or 6.
Poor Luka.
And then the Warriors and Grizzlies. So I think that this is with no bias at all. I think that the Warriors just have more experience. I think the Warriors, especially with the big 3 healthy, and especially if they beat Denver, I think that the Warriors can win that series in 6 games. I think they win that series in Chase Center. I think that it's important to note that the Grizzlies have 1 round of playoff experience. And I think that no matter how this year went for them, no matter if they're a 2 seed or not, I think that experience is a really big deal in the playoffs. Yeah. And that's exactly what puts the Warriors in front of them. And then we have the Suns and the Warriors. I do have the Suns making it to the finals there, but I do have the Suns winning in 7. I think that would be a heartbreak of a game 7 as a Warriors fan. I'm just preparing myself for it. I think the Suns win that series in 7. So yeah, we have the Suns in the playoffs, in the finals, and then moving on to the East. We have the Heat versus the Sixers, right? And then we have the Bucks versus the Nets. I think those are 2
rounds.
I think that's like I think I'll be watching more of the East playoffs this year than the West, except for the Warriors.
For sure.
So for the Heat Sixers, I have the Sixers winning that one. Wow. As much as I like the Heat, I think that the Sixers are they're not the better team, but they do have the better players.
Yeah.
And as much as I don't like James Harden, this isn't me being biased. Like I said, I think that Embiid Harden duo in the playoffs would be really, really good. And then we have Bucks and Nets. That's a hard series to pick, but I'm gonna have to pick the Nets in that one. I think because it's not because of the fact that Kyrie and Katie are there. I just think that I really want the Bucks to win that. I really want the Bucks to win that, but I think that the Nets would have had it all figured out at that point in the playoffs, where they would know how to beat the Bucks. And that series was so entertaining this year. I think I watched all of those Bucks Nets games. I'm gonna have the Nets with a slight edge over the Bucks there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucks beat the Nets, but I have the Nets in 7. I think that series is gonna go to 7,
All right.
which means we have the Nets and the Sixers.
Oh, it's another good series.
It's another good series.
So many good matchups in the East. It's
the East is just really good. And with that one, I have the Sixers winning in 6. Okay. I have the Sixers winning in 6 and making it to the finals. I just don't think the Nets have what it takes to beat the Sixers. But that series is just filled with just, the James Harden back to Brooklyn. That who knows, Ben Simmons might even play in that. Who knows, man? If that series happens, there's a lot of things that could happen. But I do have the Sixers winning that one. And then we have the Suns and the Sixers in the finals. And I'm picking.
Don't do it.
This is a wrong pick, but I'm picking the Sixers to win.
Didn't you do this last year?
I'm pretty sure I did this last year. But I genuinely think the Sixers got better.
Well, they did, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they definitely got better. And I think that this year Joel Embiid proved that he really wants it. Like, he really, really wants it. And I think that the process will finally come to an end, and the city of Philadelphia gets their ring and their parade, and Chris Paul and Devin Booker lose another finals. I think that's what happens.
Back-to-back finals losses.
I think that, okay, so here's just like, after given all of that, I think that whatever happens in these playoffs, if the Suns do make it to the finals, or if any other team besides the Warriors, I think the East wins this year. I think the East will win no matter what. Whether it be the Sixers, whether it be the Bucks, whether it be the Heat, I think the East will win this year's finals. So yeah, those are my picks.
Okay, I like it.
I think it was. Those are hard picks, man. Especially with the East.
It's hard in the East. There's so many good teams there. Like, Sixers could win it. The Heat are still very good. The Nets, even the Celtics. I think a lot of people, because they're the 2 seed, people are going to overlook how good the Celtics actually are. But like, they're the best defensive team in basketball. They are. Jason Tatum is becoming not just a superstar, but like a top 10 player in the NBA level talent.
I really wish that the Heat weren't a number 1 seed. Yeah. Just because of the fact that they're not, like, they don't feel like a number 1 seed, but they definitely deserve to be the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
But all these teams, I think the Heat played the best overall basketball this season than any of these teams in the East. No matter how good they are, no matter how good any of the other teams are on paper, I think the Heat are deserving of the 1 seed, which a lot of people will overlook and will be like, the Heat are not a 1 seed. They're going to lose to the Sixers. They're going to lose to, but like, the Heat can go all the way. They're not just your bubble team, bubble 5 seed anymore who will make it to the finals. No, I think the Heat are a much more complete team this time, and they can surprise a lot of people. But with my picks, I just think that the Sixers can go all the way. But I wouldn't be surprised with any of these other teams.
I like it, though. I like the sticking with it, because, I mean, if you were wrong last year, maybe you're right this year with the Sixers pick. Also, without Ben Simmons, though, I like those odds. Not going to lie. Yeah. The Nets do have Ben Simmons, even though he won't play. So.
All right. That wraps up the playoffs part of our NBA discussion today. And next time we see you, we don't know when that would be. Maybe it'll be in the second round. Maybe we're wrong with a lot of our first round picks. But
because we're both predicting the same thing, so that would really hurt our brand if we're wrong there. I just we'll talk again after this Warriors Nuggets series, because I'm already just I'm hyped for the Warriors back in the playoffs. Come on,
Oh, yeah,
it's two.
definitely.
Even though it's been 2 years, it feels like forever since the Warriors have played like actual meaningful basketball.
All right, now moving on. We'll make this quick. We'll just do the NBA awards. Who should win versus who will win.
All right.
Okay, so we're gonna do 2 minutes. We'll do 2 minutes for the MVP, 2 minutes for the defensive player of the year, 2 minutes for rookie of the year, and then we'll combine the last three.
Here, wait.
We'll
Let's do this. Let's combine everything but MVP because that's like the only one that I truly care about. No offense to rookie of the year.
There's others that I do care about, but yeah, we can do that. We can do that.
Let's just give us like we can talk about whatever one we want, but like because the MVP, like that's just a crazy award. Like it can go at anyone, literally anyone.
We'll do 2 minutes for the MVP
Awards.
both of
MVP,
us.
let's start at MVP.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. I will start. So I think for MVP, who should win? This would be really controversial.
Whoa!
But who should win is Joel Embiid. That's my
controversial.
That's my who should win.
Oh,
who will win? Who will win is Nikola Jokic. I think that's not controversial. I think that a lot of people would agree with me saying that Jokic is MVP. Who should win? Joel Embiid. I think simply because of the fact. Okay, first of all, he's a scoring champ. Second of all, this is probably the best year he's played, mostly because of the fact that he didn't really miss any games this season. We finally saw what a season would look like if Joel Embiid played healthy. And look at that. He's one of the contenders for MVP. But I don't think we should overlook the fact that Giannis should probably also win. I think that 3-man race is like one of the hardest to pick from in a while. And I wouldn't be mad at any of them, any of the 3-1. I just think that Jokic just has so much more to like offer in the sense that he doesn't have a James Harden and he doesn't have a Chris Middleton. I think that Jokic is the main part of that team. He's like just the center of that team. He's the reason they made the playoffs. He's the reason they dodged the play in. Yeah, so I have Jokic winning the MVP.
All right, just to add a little more to this discussion, if you had a vote and you had to pick your top 3, who would be like your 1, 2, and 3? Where would you rank the MVP candidates? And would you have a surprise candidate in your top 3?
That's really hard because I think that 1, 2, 3, it would have to be, like I said, who should win is Joel Embiid. So I have Embiid at 1, Jokic at 2, and Giannis at 3. But putting Giannis at 3 just feels really wrong.
Yeah.
It feels really wrong in the fact that he's just done so much for the Bucks like these past few years actually, but this season he just showed out, man. So I think putting Giannis at 3 is not even it's hard. It's hard to do, but like you said, it's the 3-man race is just very unpredictable.
I mean, it's incredible. And I'll start my 2 minutes right now. I mean, just if you took Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis off of all of their teams, not a single one of them make the playoffs. Even Milwaukee, which I think with Middleton and Drew Holiday, they still have a pretty solid squad. With a loaded Eastern Conference, they aren't making the playoffs. They'll probably be a 10, 11, or 12 seed. And obviously, without Embiid, the Sixers really aren't anything that special. The offense runs through Embiid, and the Nuggets would literally be the worst team in basketball if Nikola Jokic was not on their team. So it could, in terms of value, these are the 3 most valuable players to their teams. But for the award, I think Jokic should and will win the award solely because he was the MVP last year. We made it clear that he was the best player in basketball last year as a 3 seed. He has a similar record to Embiid and Giannis's teams. So You can't really put like because he's a 6th seed, he shouldn't win the MVP. That discussion you could throw out the window. But for a center to be top 10 in points, assists, and rebounds, and to do it without his second best player and third best player is just unreal. I mean, I didn't think Denver would be who they were. And I mean, as much as good as Embiid and Giannis are, I don't think there's any player in NBA history who could put up a 40-point triple-double like it's nothing, like Jokic could. And I think just because of how he's played this season and under the circumstances of like Denver's injuries, I think Jokic is the MVP this year, just based on like the whole story of the Nuggets season.
I fully agree. And I don't think that there's any like controversy actually right now. I don't think there's any. I think a lot of people are leaning towards Jokic. I just think that the other two definitely make a case. So
everyone makes it. You can even make a case for Devin Booker on here.
Oh yeah.
64 win team, best player on that team, having the best season of his career. Like any other year, Devin Booker would be the front runner for MVP. But because it's this year and because Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis have had some of the greatest seasons in NBA history, I mean, it's crazy just to see how much talent there is for the MVP award.
All right. I'll do 2 minutes. I'll do 2 minutes and then you'll do 2 minutes for the rest of the awards.
All right.
I'll start my 2 minutes. First off, Defensive Player of the Year. Who should win? Marcus Smart. Who will win? Marcus Smart. I think that Marcus Smart definitely made a really big leap this season, even though we've known that he's a great defensive player. But like, like the fact that he was never in like any of the DPOY conversations, like I think now it's his year. He showed out and he showed that he's DPOY. As simple as that. I definitely think that if Draymond played more games, it would be Draymond. Just the fact that he's like, not even like with any bias, I think with the games that he did play this season, definitely showed his defense, maybe like his best defense, maybe like his defense from when they were a championship team. But that award belongs to Marcus Smart this season, unfortunately, for Draymond. Rookie of the Year. Actually, we'll go back to that. Sixth Man of the Year. Who should win? Tyler Hero. Who will win? Tyler Hero. Easy pick. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think there's any contenders in that one. Most Improved Player. This is another controversial one. Who should win? This is with no bias at all. Most Improved Player should be Jordan Poole.
Thank you.
Who will win? And why I don't understand who will win is Ja Morant.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I don't get it. I just don't. I don't understand. Ja Morant might be top 5 in MVP voting, and he's going to get Most Improved Player.
Yeah.
Understand. If anything, right? If Ja wasn't to win, it should be like Darius Garland or DeJounte Murray, right? But it should be Jordan Poole. It should be Jordan Poole. There's a big case to be made for that. Should be Jordan Poole. Okay. But if Ja Morant wins this award, I think it wouldn't just be me. I think it would be the whole NBA community questioning what the Most Improved Player award actually is about. Because give me the criteria to meet Most Improved. Do you have to like meet a certain threshold of points? I don't understand. And like, if you're a big name like Ja Morant, why are you winning Most Improved Player?
And why would you care about that when you're Ja Morant?
That makes me mad. Coach of the Year, Taylor Jenkins. Is that his name?
Yeah, Taylor Jenkins, Memphis.
Taylor Jenkins should win, and he will win. It's pretty self-explanatory. Like, no one expected the Grizzlies to be a 2 seed. Yeah. No one expected the Grizzlies to be that good, and no one expected the Grizzlies to be that good without Ja Morant. So, I think he did a great job this year as a coach, and he should win, and he will win.
Yeah.
Sorry, I forgot to go over Rookie of the Year. Who should win Rookie of the Year? Scotty Barnes. Who will win Rookie of the Year is Evan Mobley. I'm not mad that Evan Mobley will win. I just think that if you look at the top 5 for each category, points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, Scotty Barnes is in all of those lists. I think that he's not the reason why the Raptors made the playoffs this year, but he's definitely one of the big reasons why. As a rookie, it's really hard to do. But I also you can make the same case for Evan Mobley in saying that he's probably the reason why, or one of the reasons why the Cavs are in the play-in. I think that, yeah, I think Evan Mobley will win that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's even like Cade Cunningham or something. So yeah, go ahead, Tommy. 2 minutes.
I don't even need 2 minutes because I agree with every single statement you have made. So I'm just gonna throw out some stats there or here just to let you know. I mean, Tyler Hero, I'll start with him. He's obviously 6th man of the year. I'm seeing some of the other names that potentially could win it, like Kelly Oubre. No. Montrezl Harrell, no, he's always in the discussion, but does he really deserve it? I think Kevin Love deserves some credit for the way he's played this year in Cleveland, but obviously Tyler Hero is just in a world of his own in terms of that award. Defensive player of the year, I agree with the Marcus Smart pick. Best defender on the best defensive team in basketball.
For DPOY, there's a lot of cases to be made for like Bam or even Giannis. I think Giannis.
I think there's
some, but I just think that overall Marcus Smart should win that award.
As long as it's not Rudy Gobert, I'm okay with anyone who wins that award. Just because Rudy Gobert is, you can look at all the stats and be like, oh, Rudy Gobert is such a good defender, but he's such a liability on offense that is it even worth it having him on the court? That's the thing. Like Giannis can do it on both sides of the ball. Even Marcus Smart, Bam, Mikal Bridges, even Jaren Jackson, but Rudy Gobert is all he's going to do is block shots, which is great, but that's like, I don't want to base an award off of a guy who's just going to do one thing really well and defensively. Like Smart can do so much. So that's why I think he's deserving. Coach of the year, I agree with the Taylor Jenkins pick. Memphis, I found the stat, they were 20-5 this year without John Morant. And that is definitely a testament to the great coaching staff that they have down in Memphis and also just the culture they have. That they could, in 25 games, John Morant didn't play this year. The team wasn't, if they were at 500 or a little bit above, people would be like, wow, the Grizzlies played well without Ja. Like they did their job. But no, they were even better without John Morant. Just incredible coaching job by Taylor Jenkins. For rookie of the year, Scotty Barnes, I think definitely deserves it. I mean, Toronto's a 5 seed. They weren't even in the play-in last year. And all they did this offseason was lose Kyle Lowry, draft Scotty Barnes, and now this team is a 5 seed. It's crazy. And the Cavs, Mobley was for sure the favorite, but as the season's gone on and the Cavs have kind of dropped off, I think he shouldn't win it because Cleveland kind of is now lower than Toronto. So I think Barnes deserves it over him. And in terms of Jordan Poole I'm just going to start like petitioning Jordan Poole needs to be most improved. And not only that, he needs to be in the discussion.
At least put him in the discussion.
Put him in the discussion.
At the least.
I mean, this guy's averaging 18 points a game this year on 30 minutes. A guy last year who, before he went down to the G League, I remember telling myself, Jordan Poole sucks. I don't want to see Jordan Poole on the court.
I saw Jordan Poole in person, and I never thought this guy's going to be this good.
Yes.
At that point.
Because even last year, because when he was playing without Clay, and even when Curry went down for a little bit, Poole showed flashes of, hey, he can be a really good scorer.
That's exactly what I was excited about going into the season with the Warriors. Like that was my number one thing to be excited about. It wasn't Clay coming back, and I'm sorry. It wasn't Clay coming back. It wasn't the fact that the big three was going to be back. It was Jordan Poole.
And he exceeded my expectations of what he was going to do.
Oh, yeah.
To be a guy who can come off the bench and give you 30 against the Miami Heat. A guy who can start a game with Clay and be like, he's basically doing what Steph Curry's gone. And against in that Utah game, it's like Steph Curry is still there. We are looking at Jordan Poole as the next a replacement of Steph Curry. And did we ever think that would even be possible? Like now we're starting to potentially have that discussion. Just shows you the improvement he's had from the G League
Mhm.
into this year. It's just he deserves to be at least a finalist for this award. I know Garland and Murray and Bridges have been great this year, but if John Morant's a finalist, he's not even the most improved player on his team. Desmond Bain deserves it over him.
Oh yeah.
Like it's
Or Jaren Jackson, or
yeah,
Dylan Brooks. I don't even like you. Just
yeah. Like it's not Ja. The Grizzlies are better without him, guys. They're better without
like
him.
no hate to Ja. He just the
Not
MIP.
Yeah.
The MIP is like a JV award, man. Like Ja's on varsity.
Yeah.
Just,
Ja's
like,
already past that.
come on.
He's too good to be in the discussion. You're just disrespecting John Morant at that point for putting him in for having him be the favorite for this award.
All right, now since we have a lot more to talk about, we'll just do 2 minutes. 2 minutes for both of us for our All NBA first second team, All NBA defensive team, and All NBA rookie team. Just for first team for both for defensive rookie. We can go over the 2 minutes, but I'll just put 2 minutes on the clock, and I'll just read off my teams with no explanations. Okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
My NBA all NBA first team is gonna be Devin Booker, Luka, Jason Tatum, Giannis, and then Jokic. This is
time out. You do realize that Embiid and Jokic can be on the first team together. They changed that rule.
They did?
They did.
Okay, well then take off Jason Tatum.
I'm just like I read that like they
changed that. I thought it was still like positional where it had to be like
no, because I think they're regarding either Jokic or Embiid as a forward center, which would combat like the whole.
Okay, cool. So never mind. Scratch all that. Okay, Luka, Booker, Giannis, Embiid, Jokic. That's my first team. My second team would be Steph, Ja, Tatum now, KD, and then LeBron.
Okay.
Yes. All defensive team. We have Marcus Smart, Mikal Bridges, Bam, Giannis, and then I guess Rudy Gobert because there's no one else. And then my all rookie team would be Josh Giddey, Cade Cunningham, Franz Wagner, Scotty Barnes, and then Evan Mobley.
I like it. I mean, there's so many great rookies this
year. I think Jalen Green, I think Josh Giddey just edges out Jalen Green. If Jalen Green makes the first team, I wouldn't be mad just because Josh Giddey missed a lot of games near the end of the season.
Yeah.
But I think Josh Giddey deserves to be on that first team just because he showed out like what his skill set is this year.
For me, I'll start with the rookie team. I would put, just because Giddey didn't play this later in the season and Jalen Green actually played very well early in the season, I was like, okay, this is the typical number 2 pick. He's not playing too well. It's the number 2 pick curse, but he finished the season off incredibly well. So I'm going to have him edge out Josh Giddey just because of that, because I think the voters they've seen Jalen Green more later in the season, so he'll probably get in there. But yeah, Wagner, Barnes, Cunningham and Mobley for sure. They're probably gonna get unanimous.
Those other 4 are automatic. I think it's just the Green Giddey.
Yeah, Green Giddey will be like the guard, whoever. Yeah. And that it's a toss up. It really doesn't matter to me because either one of them is deserving. Going with defensive player of the year, I'm trying to figure out who I would put over Rudy Gobert. Who could
Robert Williams?
Robert Williams is a great defender.
Yeah.
But I mean, Smart, Bridges. I mean, you can do Jaren Jackson though. Maybe Jaren Jackson.
Oh yeah.
But is there like positional? Because don't we need guards? Or no, not for defensive team.
Not for I don't. You need. Oh, I don't think so.
Because I don't know. Because I mean, maybe Gary Payton, just based on how well, it's just because Gary Payton II is so good at defense, and I know that's the award is Defensive Player of the Year. He won't get it, but if he did, I would be.
He can maybe sneak onto all defensive second team. So it's definitely could happen.
And then for the All NBA first team, I agree with you. In the first team, like those are the front runners for MVP. As much as I love Steph Curry, and I know you hate this guy,
Chris Paul. Oh, Trae Young.
Yeah, Young's getting second team. I'm sorry, Trae Young, the longevity. He's played almost every game. Curry's missed a lot. Curry actually didn't really have that great of a season. Trae Young quietly is putting up great numbers, so I think he will get a second team nod over Curry there. John Morant obviously will make second team just because he's best player on the second best team in the West or in the NBA. I think they have the second best record in all the NBA. I don't want to give LeBron a second team nod, but I feel like he will get it.
I think he deserves it. I think he was just, he had to. He had to do his part for that team. So
he tried his best, but they were the 11th seed. Tatum for sure needs to be on that. And who'd you have also? DeRozan was your
KD.
Yeah, I go DeRozan over KD.
Okay.
KD's been missing too much. Maybe you could give him a third team. I know KD's played great though.
KD's definitely going to get a team.
He will get a team, but I think based on
a lot of people I've seen have KD on the first team. So
but who are you going to take off? You're going to really take off Giannis, Embiid, or Jokic off the first team?
Yeah. So
how are you going to do that?
There will be riots. There will be riots if Jokic and Embiid both aren't on the team. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, they will change the whole format of the All NBA. It really shouldn't be formatted position because the NBA is so positionless anyways. It should just be the 5 best players.
Yeah, I think so too.
We shouldn't worry about position.
But now that you make that Steph Curry case, this is because I hate both Trae Young and Chris Paul, but I would definitely give Chris Paul more of a nod than Trae Young. So if we were to replace Steph, I would say it would be with Chris Paul, not Trae Young.
That's fair. Paul, I think it's also the injury for me too, because he didn't play most of the second half. But in the first half, for sure, Chris Paul was getting himself. He was getting MVP love too.
I think either way, Chris Paul gets third team.
Yeah, he will be on a team. I think him and Trae Young will be over Steph Curry. But I do think I would say them probably deserve a nod over Steph Curry. And that's more because he was going, when he was going for the record, he struggled a little bit. And obviously the injury kind of late in the season kind of dampers a potential for him to kind of boost his rating on the team. But if he doesn't make any team, Warriors fans will riot. So
yeah. All right. So you guys know we usually have our Warriors segment, but we kind of already talked about the Warriors today. We talked about how they're going to face the Nuggets in the playoffs and how that's a really scary thought and how we need Steph Curry back. All of the above. We can talk about the Warriors again later, so we won't have a Warriors segment. But we also have another segment that we always have in 2-minute warning. And I feel like this one needs to be on today's episode, even though it's just a playoff preview. We are talking about the number 11 seed in the West, the Los Angeles Lakers. We don't have our Lakers expert here with us currently. He's currently studying for a test, which is why it's a different location. But we will get his insight later on in the season. But right now you get mine and Tommy's. So we're going to do 2 minutes on the Lakers. They fired Frank Vogel today.
Yep.
Russell Westbrook does not look like he's staying with the team. They chose to keep Rob Pelinka and the other guy, I forgot his name. So they kept their executives. And yeah, it's 2 minutes. I'll let you start. Go ahead.
First
of all, I'll let you say I told you so, and then go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking about pulling up the clip before we were going to do this show just to share with everyone, like, go watch the last episode. I
Yeah.
called it. I said the Lakers probably would miss the play-in entirely. That was wishful thinking too. I thought the Lakers would somehow find a way to be the 9 or 10 seed, but to see them continue to move down the standings and miss the play-in, it was
Crazy to me.
awesome. I loved it. But in just with, LeBron James, he talks about how, he built this team himself. Like, he put all this kind of pressure on him, AD, and Westbrook to go win a championship this year. And I think he didn't have to do that. You saw it was the final game of the season. They played Denver, and it was the young guys who were playing, and the young guys went to overtime against Denver and won. And it was a very, young, exciting team. And what that showed me is LeBron cannot be the decision maker anymore when it comes to like roster creation. If the Lakers want to have an actual championship and dynastic team under their belt, if they're okay with LeBron kind of selling short and just getting enough to get his friends a ring, then by all means throw all your chips in with LeBron. But if they want to build something, you can't do it with Russell Westbrook, LeBron, and AD. And if we're being honest, if AD continues to not be healthy, it's going to hurt the Lakers even more. So I don't know how they're going to move away from Westbrook, or even how they're going to move away from anyone else on their team. They really don't have any valuable assets in trades. So, but yeah, that's just LeBron put it on himself. I was right.
All right. I don't want to take too much time on this. I'm just gonna build up on your thought. So the fact that I think that last regular season game for the Lakers, told us a lot of things. First off, them firing Frank Vogel was just a move to say that they made a move. It was not a smart move. No. Okay. First of all, Frank Vogel was so happy after that game because he finally got to coach. He finally got to do his job.
Yeah.
He even got to do his job better than a lot of other coaches because he got to coach all these young guys and come out with a win against a playoff team, right? And that's exactly why them firing Frank Vogel, while it may make some sense, and while I can't call it a mistake, let's just call it like a face value type of move. It was just to say that they did something. Okay, they still have the same executives. That's another big part of it. I think the fact that LeBron is still making a lot of the decisions for the team, like you said, that's what's wrong with this team. I think that next year, if the Lakers do want to do something, it's not even about Russell Westbrook leaving the team. It's just about the fact that the next coach that you may find, and right now the front runner is Nick Nurse, which I think he's a great coach, but he would be a terrible coach for LeBron because Nick Nurse is not someone who just sits back and relaxes, right?
Yeah.
I think that you need a coach. You need a coach who can tell LeBron no, right? Like that's the number one thing that you need to find. Doc Rivers might be that guy. While I wouldn't be a fan of that move. I'm sure a lot of Laker fans wouldn't be a fan of that move. I think that Doc Rivers might be your guy, and being a veteran coach who could sit back, but could also tell LeBron, no, this is what we're doing. There's a lot more we can talk about the Lakers, but I'm just gonna stop it there. A lot went wrong this year for them, and I'm not tripping over it. I'm just like surprised. I'm surprised because I didn't predict it like you did. So
I also predicted in the middle of the season, at the beginning of the season, when they announced they traded for Westbrook, I was like, I mean, this is a good move, or I didn't think it was a good move. I was like, and I think I said it on the podcast before, like Westbrook is not going to fit with LeBron and AD. And that's just what happened. It just didn't fit. Like Westbrook just could not be like or like LeBron couldn't lead that team and Westbrook couldn't just not have the ball in his hands. And it showed that they couldn't play with each other. And with AD out is especially showed like they could not coexist.
All right. And that concludes our NBA segment for today. That was very, very long. Wow, that was long. So we'll make the next one really quick.
Baseball.
We'll talk about baseball. Baseball's back, baby. We did not think it would happen. I didn't think it would happen.
Nope.
I was definitely a pessimist about the whole lockout situation, and I did not think that we would have baseball right now.
It came out of nowhere. It was just like some random, like, oh, baseball's back. I'm like, all right, cool. Whatever.
So we're just gonna do a very quick MLB season preview for you guys because it's 162 games. While they did the lockout with the whole like threatening to cancel games and everything, they did cancel games. They're still playing 162 games, meaning we have a whole season ahead of us. So today we're just gonna be doing a little bit of predictions for you guys. So, Tommy.
Yeah.
First off, we'll do 2 minutes.
Okay.
For both of us. We'll just do 2 minutes. You'll give me the World Series prediction.
Who's gonna
we'll go straight off the bat. Who are the two teams playing in the World Series and who will win it? So we'll do 2 minutes. You'll start. Ready, go.
All right. It will be the Oakland Athletics playing the Washington Nationals. I'm kidding. The A's are absolute garbage. I'm embarrassed to be an A's fan right now. And I feel Nationals fans are also embarrassed to be a fan of their team too. Knowing that
I have some sick City Connect jerseys.
They're very nice. I just don't like how the whole uniforms, like they don't really work well when you're playing games, but just the jerseys alone are super cool. And the hats too. Love the concept.
From cherry blossoms.
Yep. I don't know why like none of the City Connect jerseys really work when you actually see them on the field when they're playing.
Yeah.
But okay. For my picks, I'm gonna go with the Dodgers, obviously in the National League. And then in the American League, this is tough. But give me the Blue Jays. Give me the Blue Jays. I think they did a lot of good in this off season.
Okay, so here's my thing. I am for certain that the Blue Jays are going to make the World Series.
Okay,
that's definitely my AL pick. I could be wrong. We'll go back to this. And
we both could be wrong.
We'll go back to this in the Blue Jays and make the playoffs or whatever.
Yeah.
We always do here on 2 Minute Warning. But yeah, I definitely think the Blue Jays are going to make the World Series.
I like it.
And here's the surprise pick. I think the Braves make it back to the World Series.
Wow, all right.
Play the Blue Jays. But this time the Braves are not winning. I think the Blue Jays go all the way and they win the World Series this year. So who are you picking between the Dodgers and the Jays?
I mean, I think the Dodgers would win that. But I mean, you're going Braves, Blue Jays. You know how heartbreaking that's going to be seeing both Mats.
Yeah, that is exact. I thought of that. I thought of that exactly. Yeah, but that's not why I picked it. I just thought.
But like that would be crazy,
right? It's definitely possible.
I mean, yeah, they're two of the more exciting teams in baseball too. So you can't go wrong with those picks.
Okay. Next up, we'll do division winners plus standings prediction. So we'll just do 2 minutes each. I'll start. I'll give you just I won't even give you the records. I'll just give you an order of the divisions of like what team.
Right. Okay.
So I'll start my 2 minutes now. So starting off with the AL East, I think this is the hardest division to pick. I think that the Blue Jays are going to win that division, not by a lot. And then I have the Red Sox. That's surprising. And then I have the Red Sox, and then I have the Rays. And
are you looking at my list? Because
and
that's
then I have the Yankees.
I have.
Then I have the Yankees, and then I have the Orioles. All right.
Jeez.
So, okay. Next up, we have this AL Central. I think that division will go to the White Sox again.
Okay.
But then I have the Guardians second.
Okay, now we're wrong.
Twins third. The Royals fourth, and then the Tigers fifth.
Okay.
The AL West, another hard division to pick. I have the A's for. I'm kidding. I have. I still have the Astros winning that division right there. But I do have the Mariners going second, the Angels third, the Rangers fourth, and then the A's in last.
Okay.
Moving on to the National League, the NL East, I have. So the NL East is another hard division, but I have the Mets in first place, and then the Braves, and then the Phillies, and then the Marlins, and then the Nationals.
Wow.
A lot could happen with that one. I think the Marlins are my sleeper team for this year. I don't know why. That's just like a sleeper team.
It's a weird pick, but
It's a weird pick. I mean, in terms of like sleeper picks, it's the Mets, even though I have the Mets winning that division.
Mets. Love the Mets.
For the Central, I'm gonna have. Ooh, this one's hard. I would say that the Brewers are winning that division simply because they have really good pitching. And then I'll say the Reds, and then the Cardinals, and then the Cubs, and then the Pirates.
Wow.
Okay. And then the NL West, I have the Dodgers, and then the Giants, and then the Padres. And then we have the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, which I don't know who to pick as last there. I'll pick the Diamondbacks last just because.
Yeah.
And then Rockies and then Diamondbacks. So in terms of that whole thing, for the AL East specifically, I think that they'll have 3 playoff teams. Being the Jays, the Red Sox, and the Rays. I think the Yankees just barely missed the playoffs this year.
Okay.
The AL West would also get. How many teams make the playoffs this year?
6.
6, right? So then
3 wildcard teams.
Yeah. So then I think so. The Central only gets 1.
I agree.
The East gets 3, and then the West gets 2. The Astros and either the Mariners and the Angels, but I have the Mariners making the
there.
And then for the National League, my 6 would have to be it would have to be the Mets, the division winners, the Mets, the Brewers, and the Dodgers. But then we have, I would say that so of course the Braves. I also have the Giants and the Padres making the playoffs.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that the Phillies might make the playoffs, but they are the Phillies. So I think it's either the Phillies or the Padres. I think it's between those 2 for the last spot.
When in doubt, bet against the Phillies.
When in doubt, bet against the Phillies. We learned this last year.
We thought they would be good, but they just couldn't get it done.
All right, Tommy, go ahead. 2 minutes. Go.
All right. Pretty similar in the AL East in that we agree fully. Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, Yankees, Orioles. Maybe that's because of our hatred towards the Yankees.
There's nothing this year about the Yankees that makes
they didn't do anything in the offseason. Like they didn't get better.
Yeah, no.
AL Central, I agree with you with the White Sox. I have the Royals being the second best team in the division. I also have them as my sleeper. They have Bobby Witt Jr. They got a pretty decent, underrated offense already, and an underrated pitching staff and bullpen. I think the
pitching staff underrated.
In a weak division. I have the Twins going third, the Tigers fourth, and the Guardians fifth. Actually, I'm not a high believer in the Guardians this season, so that's why I think the Royals can get some big wins against their division and move themselves up into that 2 spot. But I also agree with your point that no team from the AL Central besides the White Sox will even make the playoffs. So at that point, does it really matter? But in the AL West, I got the Mariners winning the division. I got the Angels finishing second. I got the Astros finishing third. And that pick is, with the Astros being third, is only because,
Wait, can you say the West again?
yeah, Mariners, Angels, Astros,
Yeah.
then the Rangers, then the A's. That pick is, with the Astros being third, is only because they lost a lot in the last 2 years on pitching and in their offense. And I think the team is going to start off great like they always do, but when it comes down to like them actually needing to play well August and September to actually make the playoffs, I see a team like the Mariners and the Angels getting hot at the right time and not the Astros. That's where my mind is going there. On the NL East, I got the Mets, Braves, Phillies, Marlins, Nationals, same as you. Central, I got the Cardinals actually winning the division. I mean, Poole host going back to the Cardinals for me is honestly, not that this is a smart way to think about it. That's the main reason why I'm picking the Cardinals to win the division, even though he's not going to provide that much support. But they were a great team last year, and I think they did enough in the offseason, and they got a really underrated team. I think they can win that division. The Brewers will still finish second, though. I like the Cubs at 3, Pirates at 4, and the Reds at 5. Not high on the Reds this year. NL West, give me the Dodgers, Padres, Giants, Rockies, and then the Diamondbacks. And then for my playoff teams, Mariners, Angels in the West, White Sox in the Central, and then give me Blue Jays, Red Sox, and Rays. Those will be the AL playoff teams. And then for the NL, give me the Dodgers for sure, the Cardinals for sure, Mets, Braves. Now this gets tough. Padres are in 2, and that's between the Giants, Phillies, and Brewers. And I'm gonna go Giants.
Okay.
No logic, just heart. Going Giants.
Okay. So you said the Padres are also making the playoffs, right?
Padres will also. So 3 teams in the NL West will finally make the playoffs.
I like that. I like that. I'm definitely questioning some of my picks, but that's just like a gut thing for now. So
Yeah,
I like the Royals sleeper pick. I like that one.
that's my favorite team. I wouldn't even be shocked if they went on like they were getting close to winning the division. Like if we started talking about, are the Royals the best team in the division? I'd be like, they could be. They got the number 1 star rookie Bobby Witt Jr. and they had a pretty decent team last year. I think they added Zach Greinke coming back to Kansas City. They got a decent squad in a weak a weak division. So that's a recipe I think for sleeper team.
Okay, now we're gonna do this. Probably is our last. Actually, no, we'll have a last topic, but we'll do 2 minutes each on our AL and NL MVP, AL and NL Cy Young, and then AL and NL Rookie of the Year picks.
All right.
All right, so I'll go first. 2 minutes starting now. I'll start off with my Rookie of the Year picks.
Okay.
I think that there's not a lot of names that I know yet, simply because they're all rookies and I don't really pay attention to like minor leagues. But I think there's a big rookie name in the NL, and that's Seiya Suzuki. And I think that that's an easy pick. And I'm gonna have to go with the easy pick on this. Not the easy, the bailout pick. I'll go with the bailout pick with Seiya Suzuki out of the NL. But for the AL, I think the easy pick is Bobby Witt Jr., but I'm not going to pick Bobby Witt Jr. I'm going to go ahead and pick Jeremy Pena from the Astros.
Okay.
Just because of the fact that I saw him play this weekend, and he's great. I mean, he's already a great player, and he plays for the Astros. And as much as I don't like the Astros are good at like developing players. Yeah. And being on a good team makes baseball players good. And I think that Jeremy Pena definitely has a high ceiling for an Astros team that's already lacking a lot of their key players from recent years. So we'll go with Jeremy Pena. And then for my Cy Young, I'm gonna have to go for AL. I'm not gonna go Garrett Cole. I'm just not. I think that is not a good pick right there. I think for the AL, I'm gonna have to go with Lucas Giolito with the White Sox. I think that now that Rodon's gone, he has the spotlight for that team. I think that I think he'll even be better this year than he was last year. I think that I don't know. Giolito's not like he wouldn't be everyone's pick, but he's my pick. Have Giolito for the AL, and then for the NL, this one's hard because I mean Max Scherzer is on the Mets. We still have Corbin Burns, Walker Bueller. But I would have to say that my NL Cy Young pick, and you're not. This is just like a joke, but it's not really a joke. Is Chris Bassett with the New York Mets. I think that I think that there's definitely a reason. There's definitely like a path for Chris Bassett to like just get that Cy Young award this year. I think that he could have gotten it with the A's, but he was on the A's. So now that he's with the Mets, he's not the best pitcher on the Mets. We know that. They have Scherzer, they have DeGrom. But DeGrom's not going to be back for a while. And who knows about Scherzer? So I'm going to have to go with Chris Bassett with the NL.
Okay.
So Bassett and Giolito. And then for my MVP, I'm going to have to go with the easy picks for this one. I'm just going to go with Shohei Ohtani for the AL. I mean, I'm wearing his jersey.
Shohei,
baby. I think as long as Shohei's in the league, he's always going to make a run for MVP. I don't know if that's like.
No, if he's healthy because of what he does, like, come on.
Yeah, like you can't. Yeah, right. But a sleeper pick for AL MVP is Byron Buxton. Remember this.
Okay.
Clip this right now.
Here we
By
go.
the end of the year, Byron Buxton is going to be an MVP candidate. And I called it. And then for the NL, I think the easy pick for the NL is Juan Soto. I'm not going to pick Juan Soto. I don't think the Nationals are going to do anything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to go with Trey Turner. Trey Turner is my NL MVP pick.
Okay. I like it.
Yeah. Another sleeper for the NL MVP though, Matt Olson. No bias, just Matt Olson.
Well, all right. Well, for my starting, my actual MVP is going to be Matt Olson because I think him going to a situation where he's now at a ballpark that's hitter friendly with the shorter right field fence. So he's going to hit bombs all the time. I think his numbers are going to greatly improve as the season goes on from his days in Oakland to his days in Atlanta. And with Atlanta being always in the playoffs and him being an Atlanta guy, I see Matt Olson winning the award. I think there's a ton of NL talent, but I can't give it to any Dodger because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
Like who's going to pick up the Dodgers?
I think it was hard to pick Trey Turner just because of the fact that it could be Mookie Betts. It could be Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But I think Trey Turner of the three is probably the most likely of the three to win the MVP this year. I think he's going to have a great year. For my AL MVP, I still have Shohei. I also have Shohei winning the Cy Young. And I think that's my reasoning why he will also win the MVP because he will be known as the best pitcher in baseball. And offensively, he'll have good enough numbers to also garner him the MVP. Because last year it was offensively, he was.
By the way, when you get here. So we're definitely going to Angel games when you get here. And we'll see. We will see the Shohei show.
I need to see the show because I can't go to any A's games anymore.
Exactly. I
need to go somewhere else. I guess it's bad. For my NL Cy Young, I got another kind of sleeper crazy pick right now. I got Logan Webb from the Giants.
I love that pick. I was gonna say Logan Webb, but I had to go with a Chris Bassett train there. Logan Webb could definitely take that award.
The ace of the Giants staff in a pitcher-friendly ballpark. He already had great success last season, and I think he's going to expand on his pitching repertoire this year. And, you know, I mean, the Giants have a pretty solid staff anyways. So I think Logan Webb kind of stands out. And with a team that's going to be in a lot of close games, low scoring games, Logan Webb's just going to finish the season with great numbers. And then for my rookie of the years, I agree with both of your. Actually, I have Bobby Witt winning rookie of the year in the AL, and then Seiya Suzuki winning in the NL. But I do think, obviously, it's really hard to predict rookie of the year because you have no idea when a player's coming in.
Plus, yeah. I'm like, you could definitely get like a call up sometime soon that you just don't know about, and just,
It is super cool though to see this many like big prospect rookies coming in on opening day.
Yeah.
That we're seeing him have success too early. So it's super. I think it's great, and it reminds me of like 10 or even earlier years ago where I was hearing about all these other rookies who were starting up, like Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, when they were rookies. Everyone was talking about him, and now Bobby Witt could be that next guy.
Like the Royals could be really good in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Even the Orioles have 2 top prospects too that we're waiting to see.
The AL East is just gonna become scary, and if the Yankees don't do anything, they're gonna end up being the last team in that division pretty soon. But a big money team like the Yankees, they're not gonna let that happen.
So. But they'll just continue to be mediocre for the rest of the time if they don't make changes soon.
And we're gonna end today's show. It's been a long show. We're gonna end today's show with the most depressing topic possible. We're gonna be talking about the Oakland Athletics, and that's simply because of the fact that I've been to 2 Angel games so far. There's been 4 Angel games. I've been to 2, and that's because I'm just trying to get the A's out of my head. I'm like the MLB app. I switched my favorite team to the Angels.
You've already done that?
Don't want to hear anything about the A's right now. Okay. I don't care that they won 13 to 2.
They're 2-2 right now.
They are playing 500 baseball.
Crazy.
But I still can't say that I'm not an A's fan anymore. And that's what hurts. I think the fact that, I don't know, just the fact that I can go to Angel games. I can like not live in Oakland or not live in the Bay Area anymore. And I still want to know what's going on with the A's. And I'm still like, there's still a lot of happenings with the A's that I'm like, oh, I need to know what's happening, and whatever. So we're gonna talk about the A's, as much as it hurts. So we'll do 2 minutes to rant, and I'll let you start. Go ahead.
I can't even rant because it's a never-ending cycle as an A's fan. It's when you're an A's fan, you know that there is kind of a lifespan of the team. You get like 4 or 5 years of some really young stars and some guys who come in that you're like, what? These guys are actually good. Like Mark Canha, what? He's on the A's. He's playing well. What was Josh Donaldson and Josh Reddick a while ago? And you can talk about in the actual Moneyball A's. Probably the best thing about being an A's fan is just the fact that I can go back and watch Moneyball anytime I want, and to sit there, watch that film and be like, even though we haven't won a World Series since 1989, we will always have
Brad Pitt.
We will always have Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, and that incredible masterpiece of a film, Moneyball. I always try to watch that as the baseball season starts, just because, that's the essence of the A's. They don't spend money. They find these undervalued guys who are basically just garbage that they hope play well. And, if when it works out, it works out, and they go on playoff runs and they lose in the first round every time. And when it doesn't work, they are a dumpster fire. But give it 3 or 4 years. By that point, they're probably in Vegas. Maybe they have an ownership group that actually wants to spend money. And for that franchise, I would be very happy for the A's franchise. As a Oakland A's fan, I don't know what I do. I need to send in my application for a new fan base.
That's exactly what I've been doing.
You shop in the market right now with the Angels.
I'm a refugee. I'm calling myself a refugee.
Okay.
You know, thankfully, Angel fans have been really welcoming. So have Giants fans, which is surprising because who would have thought that both those fan bases would accept an Oakland A's fan? Because, they're rivals, but also they understand the pain that A's fans go through, which I think is the main reason why they would even take me in the first place. So, yeah, right now I am a refugee. I still care about the A's. It's not, I can't ever remove that. I think it does make it easier if they just move to Vegas and just call it a day, get a new ownership group.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it worse is that it's still the same owner. It's still the same stadium. It's still the same, it's everything the same. And I think at this point, it is better to try and find a new team, even though, the A's are always on the back burner. But in terms of this season, we get to see a couple of young players get good and, probably get traded later on. But we get to see them rise up, which, makes you proud as an A's fan and as a baseball fan. Like guys like Christian Pache and, like I think that by the end of the season, and who knows, the A's might not even be last in the division. There's like a
I'd be
chance.
shocked if we weren't last in the division. I'll say that. I do think the Rangers are by far a better team than us.
Yeah, I think so. But, we saw some light today. We saw some light yesterday. And like you said with the movie Moneyball, you never know with the A's.
That's
You
true.
just never know.
Never know. We
But
hold on to that hope.
I think the biggest thing that they did the offseason was just let go of Bob Melvin. Because no matter how much the A's would trade away players lately, just like in the past, they would always have Bob Melvin for fans to still say, "Oh, we still have that culture in the clubhouse."
Yeah.
But now it's just like a whole new thing where A's fans are not even sure what the culture is anymore. So I think that as a fan, there's like no identity right now, and just like hanging on to another team might be your best bet, whether it be the Angels or the Giants or just any of these other teams. I don't even care. Just would not be an Astros fan or a Yankees fan. I would even root for the Dodgers. I completely just said that, but
big.
I even like watch a Dodger game.
Hey, I'm rooting for the Dodgers this year, though. Alex Vesia, relief pitcher of the Dodgers. He's gonna have a breakout monster season.
We're also gonna go to a Dodger game.
I love
it. Yeah. So yeah. And that should be it for this very, very long episode of 2 Minute Warning.
This will be the longest in history.
Probably the longest in history. A lot of NBA, a lot of MLB. Plus, in our next episode, we have to talk about the NFL. This was the craziest offseason in the NFL. We just did not have enough time today. We'll do it closer to the season so that we can just wrap up everything that happened.
Just be a big NFL kind of whole.
Only April. It's only April, and so much has already happened with the NFL. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. And yeah, I think that would be it for today. Again, congratulations to Tommy, officially a dirtbag. Woohoo!
Thank you.
Which, like I said, brings a lot more content to you guys. So thank you for watching, or thank you for listening. And anything else to add, Tommy?
I would just like go Warriors. Let's go. Let's win a playoff series. Let's do it.
We can do it. I believe so.
Yeah.
Go Warriors. We hope Steph is healthy.
Please.
All right. And yeah, that is it for us today. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time here on 2 Minute Warning. Peace out, y'all.